realize that in this call that you only have about 3 minutes or so on, you're trying to build rapport, give them a reason to actually visit the store, and how you're going to outsell your competitors, and give them an incentive to visit, because people do like some kind of incentive. And that could be, you know, if they rented $25 worth of free boxes, which if you marked it up 100%, you'd just be giving a $12.50 discount. So that's kind of a good idea. But think about how you're going to get them from the phone to actually coming down to see you. So getting the customer to the site, boy, you've got to have a consistent sales presentation. I think that if you're fluctuating on going from a 30-second call, which is basically giving the price and basic information, to what on average is usually 3 to 5 minute call, you want to make sure your sales presentation is consistent and avoid that complacency. You want to be positive towards the customer and service oriented. Think about what they're going through, because it's not going to be easy the process of moving. And think about going above and beyond their expectations. And I've had a few managers over the years that kind of maybe gotten some burnout. You know, they were there 10 years or 7 years. And in fact, I've moved some managers around just because it was a little easier. They said, hey, we're kind of, you know, getting tired of this. How about moving us to a new store, one that you're opening up or something like that. So I also like to do that. So think about, you know, going above and beyond and doing something with great personality, I guess. And, you know, there's another part of this about organizing your phone presentation and also your on-site sales presentation. And you have to make customers a priority, and you have to cut out all the unnecessary paperwork. I think over the years, we've been like paperwork junkies. I had a store I opened up in Sacramento, and I was training the manager or the owner and her manager and another assistant. I was working with them all at the same time. And it took the owner about an hour to do a rental. And I told her, this will not work. You cannot take an hour to do a rental. This needs to be 20 minutes or less. And I would love to see if you can do it in 5 or 10 minutes. If you have, especially digitally, and now just being able to actually rent online would be extremely helpful, especially during COVID. So you want to improve all your systems, be organized, have rental packages ready, or have, you know, the ability for customer to actually rent without even coming into the office. So, but you want to be proficient at your use of the software too, because if you're not proficient at the paperwork and having everything ready, because I've sometimes seen people just start gathering their paperwork up at the time that they're actually doing the rental. It's like, that should be already ready, knowing that you're going to get a new customer. I like to have, well, I'd rather do it digitally, preferably now. It's just easier, way easier. The other thing is, I think you need to know your product. I was listening to some call center agents this morning, and they had asked the manager or the call person that was on the call center. They said, you know, well, how wide is the door? And boy, they had that information right there. And I'll tell you, I bet a lot of managers don't know how wide the doors are. Whether you're talking about the exterior doors, the interior doors, you need to know the width, the height, and the aisle. So this is my quiz for you. Maybe you can take this back and say later on today, look at some of these and the height of the space inside. And you may have a variety of different heights. But think about even the key changes on your disc locks. If you have disc locks, I heard a call today from a call center, and they said, oh, you could probably go to Home Depot and get a lock. Well, Home Depot wouldn't have enough key changes. Like if a bunch of your customers went to Home Depot at that suggestion, they would absolutely not have enough key changes. If you use a vendor in our industry, they're going to have a lot of key changes. One of my first stores that I had 1,300 units in, I had, and this was 20 years ago, I actually had a problem, and I found 19 storage spaces that were opened by the same key of locks that we were selling. That's a lot, isn't it? And then I was scrambling to try to find out how, okay, we had to test the rest of the locks that we have. And then we worked with our vendor and they fixed the problem because they weren't used to having 1,300 spaces. They're like, oh, that's not very common. So also, like the width of the gate of your opening, the gate that people come in and out of, or if you have a back gate, something like that. And even the temperature range, if you have a climate controlled buildings, you need to know those things. So also when you have people coming to your property, If you have something like a free move-in truck or any kind of concessions or freebies, offer those things, especially if you hear them hesitating. Begin offering your concessions or whatever you're going to do to get them down. And I gave some examples here. The free time, I like free time because then you're not really changing the amount that you're going to get for the space every month, but it's lowering their cost to move in. And that's a real plus, because if they're moving in, they're probably getting out of something, moving into something, a lot of expenses happening with the move in general. So the second month free, the $1 move in, I know some people don't like the $1 move in, but Public Storage does that for a reason. Like, it actually works, right? Or a $19 move in. I see some people that use those too. So also think about, discounting those standard rates. If you're going to discount, limit the time. Let it be just 1 month at the, some rate. So don't do those discounts for a long period of time, because if you do it for 6 months, they get used to that. And when you go up, let's say you go up 25%, then they're going to be, oh boy, and want to move out. So, and there's other kind of freebies that you can give also with these incentives, as opposed to just thinking you must give them, a concession, for example. But some of the things you may try to do is like a $25 off of your packing and moving supplies, or a free gift with when they visit, a gift card or promotional item, and the free use of a move-in truck. This is one that I had in Los Gatos that I bought a truck for, and I did the signage on it. And it was really, really important to know that it's really important to know that what's happening is going to be, this customer is going to get this great advantage of having this truck, and it's going to cost them a whole lot less money. So that to make the move, and it's going to make it easier, much easier than renting and doing it all themselves. So drive-by visibility. Whenever I'm doing a property, I love to have the most drive-by visibility that I can get. But unfortunately, being a third-party management company that I had, we didn't have that ability all the time. Sometimes we had properties that were buried, and that's not so easy. And when you do this, work on improving that drive-by visibility, or getting the signs that you can put out, the storage signs, the pennants, the banners, even if you can put clocks or reader boards, maybe white curbs, things like that. But keep it clean and interesting to look at. And I love this one. This one's Safe Keep Self-Storage, and they put metal wrought iron things here, and they've got the trees here that look really great, and you can see their nice big banner there that's storage units for rent. But keep it all looking really good. This is another Green Valley storage. It kind of looks attractive there by the drive-by, but I think they could use some banners and some other things out front too. Now, let's just talk about just whether you're on the phone or whether you have a person in the office. You want to make sure you have a system. And especially when the person is coming in, you want to stand to greet them. It's so important when you're standing to greet them and you're smiling and you're looking at them and acknowledging that they're in the office. It's really important. So even if you're busy, even if you're on the phone, even if you're doing, you can at least wave to them saying, I know you're here. Just give me a minute and I'll be right with you. Something like that, where you're not really talking, but you're giving them eye contact. And you want to make sure you get their name and use it during the conversation, because that really helps you connect with the customer. I had a mystery shop that I did that a manager, she got out on the cart with the customer, and she said, hey, the manager says, hey, you mind if I smoke? I was like, okay, that's not a good idea. And the person, my shopper, she said she hated smoking. And I said, I'd prefer you not, because I'm allergic to smoke. So you have to remember, things that you do like that are just odd, that it makes customers feel a little they just don't like it necessarily. So watch those bad things too. Remember to ask inquiring questions. You want to welcome the customer, build rapport with them. And I mean, small talk. You can talk about the weather. I'm in Arizona right now, and it's hot. It's 100 and something. I pretty much don't go even outside. And also be careful, to get on other topics. Don't get off on something else and talk about, politics or anything that, probably is not a good idea to talk about now, right? But you want to concentrate on helping them with their move and telling about the great things about your storage property, and just working on the right size, determining the size to actually show the customer and show them a couple different sizes. I actually have a story to tell you because I had a storage company that was hiring me to do some work. And so I was doing a seminar the next day, but they wanted me to go to several of their stores. And I went to one of the stores and the manager was inside, assistant manager actually, was inside, and he had his feet up and was reading a paper. And he kind of just turned the paper down a little bit to look at me, and he said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I wanted to get some prices of your storage." And then he said, "Oh, okay." I mean, I was clearly an interruption. And then I was looking around because I was going to write him down. I'm thinking, okay, I should probably write them. The piece of paper. I didn't find a piece of paper anyway. And then I said, "Hey, can I borrow your pen? And he's like, "This is my good pen." And he tosses it to me from still sitting down. I was just floored. I could not believe it. And the weird thing is and finally, okay, now I'm messing with him. So I said, "You know what? Could you show me that 10 by 10? Oh, he did not like that. So he kind of ruffled his papers down and he got the umbrella because it was sprinkling just a little bit. And there was a cart right by the door, but he didn't take the cart. He just popped open the umbrella. He walked on in front of me, and I was wearing heels and I was trying to keep up with him. I couldn't even keep up with him. So I was like, what? I could not believe it. I was shocked. I was floored that would even happen. And so I was just trying to catch up with him. And then he rolls open a door and he looks at it and he's standing there with the umbrella and he's kind of standing inside the property or inside the space now and kind of shaking the umbrella out a little bit. And so I caught up with him and I look and I'm like, oh, now, okay. So I figured that if he's going to be like that, I said, "Hey, could I see the one just one size bigger?" And he looked at me, goes, "Oh my gosh, ma'am, see this old panel right here? It's one more of those on the backside." I was shocked. I was shocked because you can't sell like that. You have to have a good attitude. You have to show them 10 if they want to see 10. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, well, can I get one closer to the front or closer to on this or that?" Or, I can't, get a truck in here very easily. Is there one you have on the main aisle? Show them whatever you have and as many as they need to see, right? But always don't forget, take your vacancy list because then that'll be help because that guy says, "I don't even know which ones are vacant." I'm like, oh boy. Nothing went right for him that day. So, but people do need to see the space and that's how you sell it and make sure it's clean. I did some on-site shops recently in Florida and this guy opened the door and you know how you open it up and all that stuff comes down, all the dirt comes down. So the dirt all comes down and I'm like, ooh, I'm trying to miss it getting in my hair. And so then I look, he doesn't say a word about the little critters that were still in there kind of dead, but still he didn't say like, "Oh, we'll get this cleaned out for you." Nothing. I was just shocked. So remember, when you're showing that space, look at the aisles on this picture. They are clean as a whistle, aren't they? They look great and they're really wide. I love that too. Wide. This is their wide main aisle. So it's so interesting to make sure that you get all of this right. And it's not always easy to do. I'll tell you, especially, this looks good. Look at the cart here. And the aisle looks really clean too. But remember, when you're counseling the customer, you're taking on the tour. You're demonstrating the gate system and how to use the gate system. You're pointing out the security features like the cameras here. You're trying to help the customer and, make sure that space is clean again, point out the security features and make sure you demonstrate how to open the space. I can't tell you how many people that I hear saying, "Yeah, I can't, how does the space open?" It depends on the latching system or you have to push down on the little plate on the bottom to get it open quite right. We know that in self-storage, but not a lot of people do. So also be sure to sell ancillary products. I still find a few offices where people don't have those in them. You want to have ancillary products there. It adds to what you're doing in the office and it's a good revenue source. I had a store in Northern California, really small store too, in a smaller town. We would do 5,000 at least or more a month in ancillary products. That manager, she could sell anything. She was amazing, but she always sold a lock. She sold in boxes and protectors and all kinds of stuff. She's just really good at that. But you don't want to get cheap locks or have any kind of cheap locks to sell because that's, your product and you want to have great security. And again, I mentioned the high key change, number of key changes. But offer a variety of boxes too and display them well, make them look good, merchandise them. I did a audit recently and I went in and the office didn't have any products anywhere. I couldn't see any products. And then I was inventorying all the spaces, and I looked over and I thought, oh, okay, well, this must be a company unit because it's right across from the office. Well, it was their box display area, but it had been closed the whole time. And I thought, wow, I know the office is kind of small, but they probably should have put some things in the office and in that little area so the customers could see it going by. But mattress bags, sofa covers, tarps. I've done car covers because I have car storage at some locations. Plastic storage containers are a good idea too, especially boxes that can get wet or a problem. So the storage containers are great too. And remember, you're really, inviting the customer to rent and actually closing the sale. When you test their buying temperature, when you're showing them, you're out there saying, did you like the 5x10 or the 5x15 better? And don't forget, you can hold and reserve a space. I know sometimes even like when new properties are going, people will do that. And then when they kind of get full, but if you've got 10 of something available, hold or reserve a customer of space. It makes a whole lot of difference. Instead of saying, well, it's just first come, first serve. And sometimes it's your tone of voice too, right? But you will remember, ask for the sale and rent them over the phone. In COVID-19 right now, renting over the phone is so important. And as I said, I've been listening to call center thing. Well, this whole week I've been listening and working on training some call center people. And I am amazed at the number of people calling into to a storage property online and will rent from a call center. And it is incredible. And I love it. And I love the fact that they're just focused on getting that sale right over the phone, getting the credit card, everything. And during COVID, that's important. Never stop training. I don't think, and this is something that I know that makes a huge difference in the success of my company and my stores, has always been the continued training. You can't stop. You can't stop training or coaching. And everyone can use a coach. And I know sometimes I've got friends that play a lot of tennis and golf, and I say, oh, do you get lessons? Or I still take lessons for tennis. It's important to me. I've played since I was in high school. But it's interesting to say, have a coach tell you, hey, it's a good idea to do this, try that. When you're doing your swing, do this. But training keeps you motivated also. I told you earlier that I'm an opera singer. I have been an opera singer over my career. I had to do Ave Maria for a friend of mine's wedding, her daughter's wedding. And I went into the University of Pacific and I talked to a teacher there. And I said, hey, I need some help. I need to get my voice back in shape. And he listened to me, and no kidding. He's like, he listened to just a little bit. He didn't go very far into the song, and he goes, wow, you're rusty. I was like, oh my gosh, no kidding. I'm pretty sure I came close to crying about that point. I was like, wow, it's not very often that someone says I have a bad voice, and to have that happen, it was like, man. So you know what I did? He made a recording for me, and we went through, every time I was in my car, I listened to it over and over and over. And I have to tell you, it took me several months in preparation for this, because I was doing it outdoors too. It's way harder outdoors. But the weird thing about it is that I walked in one day and he said, okay, let's do it from the beginning. And so I sang the whole song, and he let me go through all the way through. And he turned to me and he said, that was the best Ave Maria I have ever heard. Because I'm a mezzo. So he's like, and mezzos just do this really well. And I think this is what we need to think about on training, whether you have a customer in the office or on the telephone. You have to practice. Repetition, feedback, improving. That's what my company SkilCheck does. We actually give feedback to people on how to improve the sales techniques. You get to listen to the call and get feedback. The only way to improve is if you want to improve something yourself. And that has to come from motivation within you. And for companies, supervisors that are out there, you can't ever just say, oh, well, I trained them at the very beginning and expect it to last. It just doesn't. It doesn't last. You can't expect that. And even if you say, well, the bonus is, based on that. Well, that doesn't always work either. So keep those things in mind. And remember, use some kind of mystery shopping. You don't have to use my company, SkilCheck, but we are a competitive advantage. You want to maintain the learning and the sales and customer service behavior. So if you're teaching them how to answer the phone, follow up with that. We give you monthly feedback, or however often you want to do it, on improving your sales, your employees' sales techniques. We have a recording of the sales call. We have training videos embedded in all of this where the manager can listen. If they didn't do well with the features and benefits, they can listen to training right there on the web. So it's amazing. And I do lots of YouTube. I've got a lot of YouTube stuff going. So we do free training with that too. But this is what has made me really great at being a storage manager, property manager. I'm just really good at this. And to be great at answering the phone, you've got to do this. It makes a huge difference. And it's really maintaining the trained behavior that you're initially teaching them. You also want to be self-confident. You want to love your job. I love self-storage, and being in it this long, and I can say I just wrote a book on auditing. I know you guys were talking about auditing earlier, just as I came into the webinar. But I think it's so interesting. Love your job. Find what you love to do and enjoy working on it every day, and sort of embrace the craziness. Because I've literally had people like, okay, I hate this job. It's too much for me. You have, all these people, these homeless people, you've got these rich people, and everybody has an attitude. And you know what? But the weird thing about this is it makes the day interesting. It really does. It makes it more fun, I think. So keep working on your skills, besides the sales, the service skills, and really work at pleasing the customer and making them happy. And I know we're trying not to have a whole lot of interaction with them now during COVID-19, but you can still drive by, wave at them, get them a water with your gloves and things, bottled water, and help them out. So I have, I wanted to show you some webinars that I've done that are on YouTube. They're all free. I've done some on COVID-19, brilliant things to do when things are slow. And again, lean sale questions and getting rid of people during COVID-19, sales strategy, vocal techniques, just to work on that, and handling customer objections. And the last one was my daughter is in self-storage, and she called me one day so mad about that some customers weren't treated respectfully. And she's only 19. And she gave me, I said, so what should you do, or how should the customer be treated? So she gave me a list of like 15 things. And so I included them in that webinar. And I just think it's important for all of us to think about our business, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we can improve everything that we do. So that's all I have for today. If you're trying to get a hold of me or ask questions, you can certainly do it here, or Carol@SkilCheck.com, and I have an 800 number here also. So Steve?
Wow, a lot of good stuff there.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So we've got a few minutes. Let's see. Oh yeah, we got a question that came in from Beth, and she states here, thank you for the awesome information, exclamation point.
Thanks.
I agree, ongoing training is the key to success. How do you recommend you handle retraining and improving skills of managers who have been in the industry for years and are stale? Many times they are resistant to the idea they need to improve or change.
Yes.
Resistant. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Steve, what was the person's name?
Beth.
Beth. So Beth, that is a really great question, because I think over the years, I've had some of the most trouble retraining or doing continuous training with some of those, I don't mean older, long-time managers, because they get into a rut and they don't want to get out of it. They're used to it. It's convenient. So you're actually identifying something really important. I had the advantage of having a nice conference room. I would bring my employees in, and though I was in several states, I tend to have, I had a lot in Northern California, Southern California. I had Hawaii stores, I had Chicago stores. So when I would go to that area, I would get all of them together in a conference room, and we would role play. And boy, I'll tell you, some food and having to do it in front of someone else it makes a lot of difference. And I know that there are people that are like, oh boy, we're gonna have to role play in front of everybody else. I try to make it fun, let them do it a few minutes, like with their partner, switch back and forth, and then have each of them do an example of whoever wants to lead and whatever. And there have been some people that I'm going to dress as remedial. I don't know what else to say, that they were not good at all. And I'm going to give you two examples. One was an example of a girl that was 19, very young, but she did, I mean, she like aced our Onsite. And when it came to the phone, she was getting like 30s out of 100. And so when I brought her in for a training with all my remedial people, they don't know they're remedial, but they were the ones that didn't score so well. So they were all in my office. And so when we got to her, she goes, you know, I am very uncomfortable on the phone. And I swear to you, I turned and looked at her because she was sitting right next to me. I was shocked. I was like, wow, did I miss something? Because I thought kids, kind of younger people, loved their phones, were attached to their phones. But guess what? They like to text. Even my own kids. I'm like, please do not, text me this because I'm driving or I'm busy. You want to make sure you are calling me. I need to interact with you. Like even like my daughter calls and so it's very odd that they're used to texting and they're not used to the actual interaction. So you be careful about that when you're hiring younger people. Make sure they can actually communicate well. Now, older people are the people that may have been in storage for a while. I don't mean old or whatever, because I don't think age really matters in this particular. You're looking for a personality, and they've got to come out of their shell. They've got to, and if you can't, you may not be able to fix a problem that this person's having. And I think part of that is you can't change someone's personality, right? So you're really going to have to step back and say, I may have to replace them. And I don't mean that bad, but there are some times, and I have had to do this where I didn't realize someone didn't like to answer the phone or that they were uncomfortable with it, like with the young girl. But I've also had older people that said, you know what, I don't like this anymore. It's just too much work. Now I've got to spend 3 or 4 minutes on the phone with the customer, which to me is like, that's prime time. You get to know them. When they come through the door, they're going to say, hey, is Carol here? Right? Because they want to see me, because I made that connection over the phone. And that's what you need to do. But, and I would love to help you. I'll give you some free shops if you want to, evaluate someone, or I can talk to them on the phone. I'd be happy to help you with that at no charge. I'll help you just to see if we can get that person, up to snuff, I guess, and see if it's capable. You're capable. I like to say, Steve, don't tell anybody else this, but I've had 2 husbands, and I realized, and this isn't anything against male or female, males in particular, I'm saying, but you can't change someone's personality. And sometimes I think I went into my marriages thinking, oh, that's just a little thing, I can change that. No, you can. And so when you're hiring people, if you think, oh, they're shy here, I'm gonna make them outgoing. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. I don't think you're capable of doing that. And you may have to just say, you know what, I need to hire someone that is super friendly, that likes people, that's outgoing, and that will really be good to my customers.
Good. That's good. But
Yeah.
the one question or one comment to that is, you need to speak to my wife, because somehow she was able to retrain me. So.
Wow, good. You're trainable, Steve. Awesome. Yeah, I said I just picked 2 guys that weren't so trainable. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Beth's got a follow-up question. She's asking, stating and asking a follow-up on the training and retraining. We have over 40 sites in 5 states, and most are too far apart for group training.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for us to create a positive training experience for our managers?
Well, Steve, exactly what you're doing here today, this can be done at a site level. You get on the internet and do this same type of training. And visually, we can get video on each manager, or we can just do audio. It's really not difficult. I do this constantly, and you can do it within your company, or you can have an outside person like me or Sue Havlin, who I'm replacing today. We do this all the time. And right now in COVID, boy, I told you I just wrote a book. I haven't been speaking. I haven't been going to any trade shows. So I wrote a book because I'm like in Groundhog Day every day. So I think if you've got the time right now, it would be a perfect time. People aren't moving around traveling. Get all this technology going and use it to your advantage. It's awesome.
Great. And so Carol, I got a question for you because been in business as an entrepreneur for, oh my God, 35, almost 40 years. I hate to say that, but question is that, you look at the franchise model, right? And so franchise models, they try to mold everything and script everything and get somebody so far into a box. And somebody says, well, geez, I'd like to kind of do that, but I will still want some creativity and some free thought from my employees. Talk a little bit to that and how to bridge that and make that work.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting about what you're saying, Steve, is that this is what I love about competing against any of the public companies. They just don't have a nimbleness to them. They can't really compete on that level. They're going to try to do it with their pricing, with their product. But our real people, well, they're hiring real people, but we don't have as many rules and regulations, I guess, as, yeah, it's just, I think it's easier when you have the ability to say it's okay to have a 9-minute call. That may not be okay at Public Storage or another, big company or public company. So I think you use that nimbleness to your advantage and offer some other things. As I was telling you, like that store that I had in Hawaii, and with the public coming next door to us, I thought we're going to get killed, and we're going to have, we could lose, 30-40% of our customers. We did lose a lot of the pharmaceutical people, but other than that, it's a hassle to move, right? And a lot of people don't want to move just because of that reason. But I think what we're doing is we're trying to say we can actually give more customer service. We can be more attentive to customers. We can actually have another dumpster that's just for breaking down of boxes if we have 80 pharmaceutical reps. So, we can do things a little differently and give a few more services and add-ons that are special to customers. And I think more even just, I like to tell my managers, if you have a customer in the office and they're shooting the bull with you, that's your job. That's part of your job, is shooting the bull. And it really makes lifelong friends. I know I've been at I've had managers that have said, oh, you had so-and-so, or they went out to dinner with one of their customers or something. It's been interesting, and they get gifts from them. I'm just amazed sometimes at all the things that people have done for the managers because they've made a connection.
Awesome perspective and great answer. So we've got hands raised and people screaming, where do we get the book? What's it called?
Well, it's a book on auditing the self-storage property, and I sent it to Minico. So they're going to dress it up and put it out, and I think it'll probably be a month or two. I don't know what it is.
Is it titled yet, or are they still working on that as well?
It's embezzlement in self-storage. I don't know. I don't know that they've done it. They may tweak it a little. I don't know. But you know what? I'll tell you something interesting, Steve. I had a person, Kelly Gallagher, a friend of mine in storage. He wrote the foreword for me, and he called me yesterday and said that he was in his office and his wife came in while he was reading my book. And she said, what are you laughing about? Because he said he was like the stomach laugh. He said, it was so funny. And I'm like, how could an auditing book be so funny? But he said that he told his wife, he said, I'm auditing book. And she goes, that could not be funny. And he goes, oh, this is funny. Because I put all kinds of stories along with, how I found the theft and things that I found along the way. And so he was just said, I read through that things. It was a quick read and I loved it. And you learned so many things about how to audit or different things that I wasn't looking for in the way, the examples I put in there. But he said the stories that I had in there about things that I found and theft that I found he said it was hilarious. And it made it really fun to read. And that's what I'm hoping for. So.
Great. Sounds exciting. I'll be looking forward to seeing that come out as well.
Thanks.
Okay, Carol, we appreciate you. We appreciate you being involved today, and your presentation and the information that was included was just phenomenal. So I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, you bet.
All righty. Okay, so we've got some great stuff going on today.